Hello everyone, I am so happy to see you again. Today we are going to visit a local farm store and a local apple orchard. And when we return home, we will make a colorful autumn dinner that celebrates the colorful autumn harvest.
I'm serving cilantro lime chicken for the main course, collard greens and roasted sweet potatoes for the vegetable sides, and a 1950s apple crisp topped with clotted cream for the grand finale.
Both the orchard and the farm store are only 5 minutes away from my house, so take a drive with me.
Golden Harvest Farm is located in Valatie, New York. Besides apples, the farm grows and sells pumpkins and other winter squash. I'm tempted to buy chrysanthemums today, but really, I'm just here for apples. I selected Honeycrisp apples for our 1950s dessert. Honeycrisp is an early season apple with a pleasant tart taste. And here is a recipe for Empire apple salsa. Perhaps we can try this unusual condiment in a future video. Next stop is the Berry Farm in Chatham, New York. I'm buying collard greens and sweet potatoes here.
We are home again. We actually stayed at Golden Harvest for a solid hour. They have so much to see and do there. We went up and down the rows of apple trees. We visited the Golden Harvest distillery. It was a lot of fun. Anyway, I've just harvested the cilantro, or some of the cilantro from my garden, which we will use for the cilantro lime chicken. And I've washed the cilantro and I just have to chop it. We also need a lime or two. I'm going to make my cilantro lime marinade right in this bag. So I need about 3 tablespoons of either olive oil or avocado oil. Juice from the lime. There, that's about 3 tablespoons of lime juice. Then I need 2 or 3 minced garlic cloves, or the equivalent in garlic paste. Salt. Cilantro. And I will reserve some of the cilantro for garnish. Give this a mix. These are skinless, boneless chicken thighs that I picked up at the farm store. It's about 1.5 pounds. These are small thighs from free-range chickens. Then we can smush or massage the chicken into the marinade. What looks pretty. I'm going to let these marinate in the refrigerator for probably 2 hours. Although if you're making this at home, you can let the chicken marinate for up to 24 hours. Now we can get started on the vegetable sides. As I mentioned earlier, we are doing collard greens and sweet potato. Now, I have recently fallen in love with collard greens. I think I made them 3 times last week. I do them in my Instant Pot. So I have a big bowl of water here, to which I am going to add just a splash of white vinegar. If there are any little bugs on any of these leaves, then the vinegar should put the end to them. So what I do is remove the stem from each leaf. The stem is very tough. I suppose you could cook it, but I prefer not to. I prefer to compost the stems. Let me know if you grow collard greens in your garden. I know they grow perfectly well in my region. They probably grow really well all over the world. Perhaps next year I will remember to plant collard greens, now that I know that I love them. When collard greens are prepared on the stovetop, they typically take 2 hours to become edible and 3 or even 4 hours to become delicious. But I have found that they cook to absolute perfection in just 15 minutes in my Instant Pot. I'm going to let these soak in this water and vinegar solution while we prepare the sweet potatoes. My knife. I'm going to cube these sweet potatoes. I'm also going to peel them. And I'm putting all of the sweet potato cubes on a baking sheet. Later we will add the marinated chicken to this very sheet. I'm going to set these aside, and then we can get started on the apple crisp. On to the dessert. We are making a 1950s apple crisp. So I have my Honeycrisp apples that you and I bought together at Golden Harvest Farm. And I need to peel, core, and slice the apples. I have tasted of these apples. They're very tart and delicious. Now we can scoop the apples right into this baking dish. This one measures 10 inches in length, 6 inches across, and it's about 2 inches deep. So it's not a huge baking dish. I think desserts in the 1950s were much smaller than they were in, say, the 1960s or the 1970s. I know firsthand that desserts by the 1980s were enormous. Now, the recipe for this crisp is on my website, and I will put a link to the recipe in the description box below. Now we need to sprinkle the apples with a 1/4 cup of water. However, Since I'm a free spirit, I'm going to use a 1/4 cup of dry white wine. Then we need a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Have to have cinnamon. And then give the apples a toss. For the crumble topping, I have 3/4 cup or about 100 grams of all-purpose flour in a bowl. And to the flour, I'm going to add 1 cup or 200 grams of regular granulated sugar. Then we need 1/3 cup or 75 grams of cold diced butter. And we are going to rub the butter and the sugar and flour mixture together until it resembles coarse crumbs. And then we can pour this mixture right over the apples. My oven has preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius. I'm going to bake this dessert until the topping colors and crisps. That will take from 40 to 50 minutes. While the apple crisp is baking, we can move on to the main course: chicken and collard greens and sweet potatoes. Now for the collard greens, I'm going to need 1 diced onion, this is one of the onions that you and I grew together last spring. Then I need some bacon. I know a lot of people say that collard greens with ham hocks are wonderful. I do not have a ham hock, let alone 2. So I am using bacon. I have about 4 strips of bacon here. And I'm cutting it into lardons. Let me wash my hands. As I mentioned earlier, we are going to cook the collard greens in the Instant Pot. The Instant Pot is simply a pressure cooker that does not require babysitting. Going to push the sauté button, add a glug of olive oil or avocado oil. Then we can add the bacon, and we will let the bacon sauté until it renders its fat. That will take probably 1 minute. Our bacon has rendered its fat, so we can toss in the onion. And I will let the onion cook just until it turns translucent. That will take about 1 minute. 1 cup or thereabouts of chicken stock. A splash of white wine vinegar. That was about a teaspoon of vinegar because I don't want my collard greens to be too vinegary. Then I need some garlic paste, or you could use minced garlic. It was probably the equivalent of 3 cloves of garlic. And I want some red pepper flakes, somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2 teaspoon. I also want to add some hot sauce. That was probably 10 drops of this hot sauce. Of course, if you don't like spicy things, Just leave the hot sauce out. But I would add a bit of the red pepper flakes. And now we can add the beautiful collard greens that we prepared earlier. And I'm not even going to drain them. I'm just going to fish them out of their water bath. Stir. And we can cover the Instant Pot. Hit cancel and pressure cook for 15 minutes. And of course, you want to make sure that the steam vent is turned to the closed position. And while the collard greens are doing their thing, we can prepare the chicken. So my lower oven has preheated to 425 degrees Fahrenheit or 220 degrees Celsius. Now, if you have only one oven, my advice is to first bake off the dessert, and then when you bring the dessert out, increase the oven temperature to 425. So you would bake the main course after the dessert. And I'm putting my chicken on the same baking tray as my sweet potatoes. I love kitchen tweezers. I know I mention that in almost every video, but I love kitchen tweezers. They're really versatile. I need to drizzle the sweet potatoes with olive oil. Give the sweet potatoes a sprinkling of salt and pepper. And give them a toss. Now, I will link the recipe for the marinated chicken in the description box below. Now we can put the sweet potatoes and chicken in the oven and let them roast until they are done. It's going to take about 25 minutes. My Instant Pot just dinged, so the collard greens have pressure cooked for a full 15 minutes. Now, I need to release the steam. I always put a cloth over the steam vent so that steam doesn't go flying everywhere. Let's take a look at the collard greens. Beautiful. The Instant Pot has a keep warm feature, so our collard greens will be perfectly warm by the time our chicken and sweet potatoes are done. My spouse is joining me for dinner, but I can't wait. A little garnish for the chicken. This is cilantro. Sweet potato. And collard greens. This is one of those dinners that smells as wonderful as it tastes. It also looks very colorful. To the herb garden. Icy Sauvignon Blanc. Cilantro lime chicken. The chicken is moist and tender and just loaded with great flavor. Sweet potato. Sweet potato really is the perfect low glycemic food. And my favorite thing on this plate, the collard greens. I want to see how they taste with all that hot sauce that we added. As I mentioned earlier, I prepared collard greens in the Instant Pot 3 times last week, but I never added hot sauce. I think I will add it from now on. This is just perfection. And it's not too hot. I mean, smoke is not coming out of my ears. Now, I'm still waiting for my spouse to join me, but in the meantime, I do want to try at least a taste of this apple crisp. I topped it with some of that amazing homemade clotted cream that you and I made together in the last video. Oh my, this apple crisp is still warm and it is meltingly delicious. The warm apples, the crispy topping, the cold, creamy, otherworldly delicious clotted cream. This is a dessert made in heaven. Thank you for spending time with me today as we shopped for apples at the local orchard, and we shopped for other ingredients at the farm store, and we made this incredible autumn dinner. I hope you will give this very dinner a try someday. And in the comments, let me know if you have your own special recipe for collard greens. I'd like to hear all about it. If you enjoyed this video, I can put a couple of my other videos at the end of this one that you can watch between now and my next upload. Until then, please treat yourself extra, extra well, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye, friends.